Right, time to wrap up this rigmarole. And perusing the left column of our perpetually evolving table, I see we still have several parts outstanding, so let's plough through them as Doom Guy would pulverise an army of imps, for our list of provisional quotes grows ever longer, and at this rate, we'll be here eons after Hell Knights, Arachnotrons and Cyberdemons walk the earth. The Lost Souls will be the most destructive.
No way, the Archvile. Just imagine once they'd started resurrecting dead CEOs.
Don't forget the Revenant. Ranged attacks and a right hook that would level a grizzly bear.
But the chain gun dudes do more damage from a distance because they never stop firing. Ah, how refreshing. Another freakishly specialist subject we'll never see eye to eye on. We must forge ahead. Power supply, proprietary, processor cooler, home harvested, case, another unique embodiment of forbidden fruit. We could assume their prices reflect those of closely matched retail products, but not a single figure is disclosed in the configurator. Classic Apple. They know most customers will cough up whatever is asked, so they bury the cost of all those priceless items in the grand total to give the impression that they're some saintly gesture of gratitude.
Yet another theory for Henry's hate-fueled hodgepodge of Apple conspiracies. You've got to have enough for an opera by now.
And now, laddies, lasses, guys and dolls, we come to the moment that everyone was waiting for before they lost the will to live and skipped to the next video. Waldo, wherever you are, I hope you find time to listen in between your profitable prophecies of doom. $20,630 was the amount Colin had to match or undercut to placate legions of Apple loathers. But in consideration of personship, and our earlier discussion, I have compiled 4 separate quotes. Where included, the XDR panel is the non-nano-textured glass incarnation which, in high dynamic contrast to its micro-engineered matte-finished sibling, does not explicitly instruct dry cleaning with an Apple fabricated cloth, and can be relieved of dust, dirt, grease or grime using conventional sanitization techniques such as distilled holy water and a fresh pair of Tim Cook's lint-free Y-fronts. Apparently, they need to be space gray or rose gold. Any other shade will leave an indelible residue. Colin, is that true?
About as much as Henry's career as a third-rate comedian.
Apologies, Colin. My copy of 101 Apple certified jokes was delivered last week, but validated page-turners are in short supply.
It wouldn't help. Most of them use words longer than one syllable and require a basic grasp of...
I've foregone the $400 case wheels and omitted the...
timing.
Time out, fanboys. I mean, people. As stated, I've passed on the $400 case wheels and omitted the afterburner accelerator on account that it's an optional luxury with no PC equivalent.
Which makes it all the more significant.
There's nothing about ProRes that makes it uniquely desirable over other intermediate codecs.
Well, in this particular case there is. Remember Robbie's letter? He said he recorded directly to ProRes using the Atomos Ninja 5 mounted on 2 separate cameras.
Hallelujah. Correct.
Which, as I recall, you were critical of in the last episode and suggested he'd be better off shooting footage on an iPhone. But now you're nuts for ProRes because it credits your argument, right?
Really? I guess I must have had my thrifty cap on.
Even though he said money was no object?
Why the attack? I seem to remember you were the one that went bang for the buck.
Okay, less of the circular firing squad. Regardless, it doesn't change the fact that Cineform DNXHR and Grass Valley HQX, for instance, are all equally robust options for professional post-production. Once you're working with near lossless compression, visual discrepancies between formats borders on negligible, irrespective of whether the source material is 8, 10, 12-bit, or full half or quarter chroma. The data rates are all that really differ. but hardly to the degree that would impact a videographer who's already shelled out for a dedicated editing array.
Well, I've no doubt that Disney animators, special effects artists, graphic designers, along with sizable portions of the world's TV, film, and music industries are all taking careful note of your sagely advice.
Are you seriously telling me that all Mac Pro customers work in corporate media distribution or mega-budget movie studios? Or are a massive percentage self-indulgent tech vloggers sat staring at stupidly overspec'd cameras, cynically seeking approval for whatever they've just splurged another 10 grand of their Patreon slush fund on, before puking it all over YouTube where it gets recompressed anyway?
Do I sense torrents of jealousy from an aspiring influencer?
Just debunking this pathetic "it's not made for you" meme. Even for the time is profit pros whom Apple is supposedly targeting with this thing, it's about what's familiar and not what just works. Unfortunately, so many have become indoctrinated by the new world orchard that they'd rather suffer old taxes than learn new tricks. Speaking of which, the results of our most to least prudently budgeted all bells and whistles bona fide Mac Pro we can write off as a tax loss competition are, in order of dwindling profligacy, as follows. Mac Pro with XDR plus stand plus Apple memory, $28,148. Mac Pro with XDR plus stand plus OWC memory, $26,408. Mac Pro with XDR plus Visa mount plus decent third-party brand stand plus OWC memory, $25,698. And lastly, Mac Pro with Dell UP3218K monitor plus OWC memory, $23,608. Thus, when compared to the cost of Waldo's bank-busting imposter Mac, even when being scrupulously frugal, you'll incur $2,978 in Apple duties for the privilege of brand prestige, braggers' rights, the most spellbinding unboxing experience since Pandora got a bit too curious, and 50 revolutionary shades of grey, including all those observable in Phil Schiller's hair.
So, I guess the next burning question is what exactly can you get for $2,978?
Well, how about a third RTX Titan? Or a pair of whatever Big Navi or Ampere's flagships turn out to be. 2 Sonnet 4x4 PCI Express NVMe cards sporting an octet of rated 1TB Samsung 970 EVO Plus M2 drives. An RME Fireface UFX Plus, one of the finest audio ingestion solutions ever conceived, Thunderbolt 2 and USB 3 connectivity, and a 94-channel I/O signal routing matrix, incorporating 4 class-leading digitally controlled preamps, a top-of-the-range 65-inch LG OLED television with pixel-level local dimming and sufficient dynamic contrast to interpret every official HDR standard, including Dolby Vision, HDR10, and HLG.
But not in 6K. And forgive me, but are all these shameless sponsor shoutouts, or did my ad blocker just die?
A set of handcrafted Grado PS2000E reference quality open-backed headphones. Or perhaps a Panasonic DC-GH5S mirrorless camera with dual SD card slots and internal UHD recording at 60 FPS and 10-bit color depth with a bundled 12 to 60mm lens. A Blackmagic Ultra Studio 4K Extreme Thunderbolt 3 video capture interface with 4K recording in multiple gold standard editing formats and full chroma sampling via HDMI 2 or 12G SDI and up to 12-bit color precision. Not forgetting, of course, 4-channel balanced analog XLR and digital AES EBU audio inputs and a dedicated real-time hardware H.265 encoder.
How about a crash course in how to cope with the worst purchasing decision of your entire life?
Or maybe you could adopt 4 abused donkeys in a sanctuary for 4 years.
How on earth did you work that out so quickly?
Well, it has been a while since I asked the question.
Fair point. Well, many thanks for sending us on that enlightening guilt trip, Laurie. Your saintly zeal for philanthropy truly humbles our tasteless technological decadence. Wanna know what you can grab for just a few dollars more? Though apparently somebody hasn't learnt their lesson. Well, $1,000 actually, but for those coveting the pinnacle of Mac Pro pretense, it's the sweetest grand they'll ever spend.
I wonder where this could be headed.
Into a bloody ruddy horizon, I suspect. Listen, if I have to hold fire on my Mac Pro suppressor any longer, we may lose the thread, so to speak.
Now, what about my AMD Avenger?
Gone off those donkeys already, have we?
Not at all. I've swapped a couple of parts and saved well over $1,000 extra for charity. It's way more cost-effective than my Intel option, and if there were a popular vote, it would be no contest.
Well, I'm afraid you've concocted your Mac already. In fact, everybody has except Henry.
But he's spoken for longer than I have.
Now, let's not quibble over equality.
It's quality over quantity I was quibbling over.
What do you want me to do, flip a chip?
I'm game. Shall we do contacts for me and heat spreader for Henry?
No, then before you know it, we'll have best of 3, 5, 7 and 9 ad infinitum. Let's allow Henry a healthy bite at the apple, then if there's time left, you can conclude on a fittingly frugal note. Henry, you have 2 minutes. What? You heard me. Let's have it. Well, that's barely enough to list the spec, let alone expound. You've done ample expounding already. There's only so much turgid jargon the mind can digest. Well, if that's the way we're playing it, I guess I'll just start with the trinkets and work up to the crown jewels. That way you can't cut me off. Want to bet, I don't know, $2,978 on that?
Okay, amigos, adios. I can't make my case any clearer. The fact remains there's no desirable replica of the real deal, and to those who'd still rather fake it than mac it, my deepest sympathies in advance, and best of luck, Henry. I sure hope that Microsoft have catered for that combustible cocktail of components.
Sit tight, Appolite. You know the rules. All resident experts shall suffer each other's rhetoric. To advise, one must also be lectured.
Really? Somebody should have told Waldo.
Make no mistake, I'll have some choice slang for him later. Henry, your time starts now. And that concludes episode 2B of Spectroactive. Depending on the date of your gracious attention, episode 2C shall either be dispatched upon its perilous pilgrimage to YouTube's antiquated servers shortly, or reside somewhere within the right-hand column of algorithmically selected and materially relevant recommendations. Should you happen to be viewing an era or several after the fact, may you at least be reassured that the agony of prohibitive choice and perpetual peer pressures endured by overprivileged technophiles during the early 21st century were no different to those which you presently face. Perhaps within a virtual world, from behind an invisible layer of neurally networked hyperintuitive glass and armed with fashionably pixelated wallets full of treacherously volatile cryptocurrency.